Yes, I know it. Hello, hello, everybody. My name is Angelica Corral. I'm with What in the World Events, and we have this wonderful guest today. His name is Steve Elliott. He's a specialist in public speaking, and I'm so excited to find out his tips and his experiences. But first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, Steve. Tell me.
Yes, well, I am one of the crazy ones that loves public speaking. I've been doing this for just before the pandemic, I guess.
Hmm.
Before that, I was in retail management
Mhm.
in a lot of different leadership positions for a lot of different retailers. And I'd always been told, oh, you're a good public speaker. And so I believed that to be true. And then realized it wasn't true, did some work on it. Now here I am today teaching others, which I find just to be a blessing. I'm a proud father of two boys, Derek and James, and they both bring so much inspiration and enrichment to my life. And I live in Canada, so I guess this is an international event. I'm in Toronto, Canada. So there you go. We're going international tonight, which I'm excited about.
We're going worldwide, as Pitbull says, going worldwide.
I love it. I love it.
So, what is it that you love the most about public speaking?
Oh boy. Well, personally, I think the satisfaction I take is communicating a message and hopefully inspiring somebody in the audience to take action, do something that maybe they wouldn't have considered doing before. So that's what I love about doing it for myself is the
Mhm.
inspiration it can give to others in the audience. As a coach and a teacher, um, what really enriches it for me is seeing that shy child who can't even say a sentence. And by the end of the classes, they're up in front and delivering a speech to the masses, as it were. That always brings me much satisfaction because you know how they've put in the work to get to where they are. So that's part of the charm for me. And then recently, I think in the last year or so, it's been working with adults, which has also been rewarding because you see somebody, let's face it, most people wouldn't seek out public speaking classes or help because
Mhm.
it's a scary thing. And oh,
Mhm.
geez, I'd
Mhm.
rather just not do it at all. So I admire all the adult clients that we have. And it's just as rewarding to hear their success stories, whether it's somebody telling me, oh my God, my presentation went so much better thanks to the tips or help you gave me, or whether it's just seeing for themselves again that confidence and how they carry themselves um, just keeps me coming back to helping others.
That's beautiful. I used to be that child that was
Oh,
afraid
really?
to speak.
Wow.
Yes, and
What
it
changed it for you?
what changed it for me was trying to help other people feel comfortable. And when I got up on the stage in front of people, and I noticed that I saw that they looked a little uncomfortable, then I wanted to make them feel comfortable. So I forgot about myself and started cracking jokes and you know things of that sort to try to break the ice. And then when I think when people see that we're all just together, we're all one trying to help each other out,
Yes.
you start to think of things differently, right? We got
Absolutely.
Jean from Malaysia says greetings. Thanks for joining us, Jean. We're glad you made it. Gabe's in the house too. Good to see you, Gabe.
Nice. 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 Nice
Yes.
to have a crowd here speaking about public speaking. So, and that's
Yeah.
cool. One of the things you touched on there, humor.
Hmm.
Humor is so important in public speaking. It can be scary to give humor because we never know if the joke is going to land with the audience. But
Yes.
boy, if you can be a joke teller or put a humorous story out there, it does put everyone at ease and it kind of reduces tension, as you say, makes people feel more comfortable.
And I think people like you when you make them laugh, right?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Well, you become more relatable if you're on a stage. There's this built-in thing of, oh, he's on the stage, but when you can become more relatable to an audience, that's when the magic can really happen. So humor can unlock that in a lot of ways. That's interesting that it was your natural. It doesn't sound like it was forced in your case. It was just, it came naturally to make, as a way to make people feel comfortable. I think that's wonderful.
I think it was a nervous humor where
Ah,
you just start the
say
nervous
something.
humor, and you start joking around with the crowd, and
Hmm.
but uh, tell me what is your one of your favorite beaches? And I see, hey, Hermoso Leal, Gabe, Hermoso, and Sharon. Uh, oh, Sharon said that she did that earlier today. I guess you wonderful to hear about your humor. You're going to have to put it in the comments how you
Yes.
were humorous, Sharon. We'd love to hear it. And I see Aid is saying my heart always beats fast whenever I have to speak in public. It's like a
Mm,
rush of excitement and nerves all at once. Absolutely.
yes. Yes. I have students that'll say that to me. Oh, teacher, what's it like to not be nervous up there?
Hmm.
I always say, are you kidding? You're
Hmm.
always nervous. I
Hmm.
love that rush of excitement. I think that's a great turn of phrase, because I think that's what, when you do it enough times, you're
Hmm.
able to control those nerves better, and so it does feel like a rush as opposed to a panic.
Hmm.
And there's a difference there. So yeah, that's a great thing. And as for a speech that has resonated with me, I think it would be the one I delivered. hmm, Wow, almost 10 years ago. Oh boy.
Hmm. Hmm. Let's
Uh,
hear it. Let's hear it.
let's hear it. Okay. It was all about pursuing your passion,
Okay.
and how you can, by pursuing your passion, you're going to become more alive. You're going to be able to be a better version of you, I guess you would say. And
Hmm.
all through my life, I had been told that, or sorry, when I was young, I wanted to be a broadcaster. I wanted to be on, Canadians in the audience will get this reference, but I wanted to be on Hockey Night in Canada, not as a hockey player, but as a play-by-play or a host.
Mm.
And I put it in my yearbook, my grade
Yes.
eight yearbook. Well, my dad saw this and said, broadcaster? Oh my goodness, you're not going to be a broadcaster. That's a lousy job. It doesn't pay well. You're going to have, and he gave me all the negatives why that couldn't happen. And
Uh-huh.
so I told that story in the speech. And
Hmm.
then I was able to flip it and share that my son, my oldest son, Derek, now he's a professional ballet dancer. But back when I
Wow.
delivered the speech, he was just learning his craft, and he had just gone to the National Ballet School of Canada.
Uh-huh.
And what hit for me was that when I was trying to calm Derek's nerves down,
Uh-huh.
I said to him, had he told people at his school that he was going to a ballet school?
Hmm. Hmm.
And he said, Dad, are you kidding me? You know how much teasing I would get if I told people?
Hmm.
And then I realized, oh, he's pursuing his passion, even though society may say, you can't dance if you're a boy, and all the
Hmm.
teasing
Hmm.
you would get for that. So I use that as my spark to enroll in voiceover classes and to start to do something with my voice again. So I use that as my example of how, you can get inspired by others, and that, the satisfaction it brought to me. I'm still not on Hockey Night in Canada, but um, that speech resonated with a lot of people. I still have people that will come up to me in certain circles, and they'll remember me from that speech. and it was delivered in 2016. So it
Wow.
shows you the impact of a speech. If you have the right message and it strikes the right chord with the right person, it can have great impact.
Yeah, and I think if it's told in a way where you're, like you say, passionate about it, right? Then it kind of it resonates. It brings the message across even more. So, that's interesting that you bring about how your son loved ballet. I just saw something recently about Tupac Shakur, who is a rapper.
Yeah.
And I found out that he was a ballet dancer and he danced in the Nutcracker. And
Wow.
he danced the part of the Mouse King
Oh,
in the
okay.
Nutcracker.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So imagine a rapper. You don't imagine a rapper doing
I'm
doing
having
ballet,
trouble
right?
picturing it, but that's cool. I didn't know that. No,
Yeah,
I
I thought
didn't
it was
know.
pretty cool too. I
Yeah.
think one of the things I love about ballet is it because I took a class, I'd say for about 3 months. But what happened when I took that class was I learned how hard it is standing and the balance that you have to have. And I love how it helps you with your posture,
Oh,
right?
definitely.
There's just a lot of good things about it, and I think those are some of the things about ballet that I loved. And what happened is when I went to go see a ballet afterwards, I could really appreciate it because I knew how hard it was to do it.
Mhm.
But,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
awesome. Congratulations to your son. And soon
Yes.
you'll be a broadcaster on hockey.
There's hope for me yet, baby. We'll see.
Yes, yes.
But
Never
he's now
lose
out.
hope.
He's now out. Like he's dancing professionally. He's been in a few productions. He's about to be in the Nutcracker. Now that you mention it, and next month,
Wow.
and it's really cool to see. And like you say, I wasn't a ballet guy. I wouldn't have known ballet before he entered, but
Uh-huh.
now I have a new appreciation for that art form. And like you say, the discipline that's needed and the
Mhm.
amount of work you have to put in. I would frequently get asked that about Derek, like, "Oh, does he really love it?" And I'm like, "Well, he must because at the ballet school it was academics and dancing. So his academic day started at like 8 in the morning and finished at 6 at night
Oh,
because
yeah.
they had their dance classes in between academic classes. So it was long and hard,
Mhm.
and he was still doing it. So it was amazing to see, and he continues to be an inspiration for me.
That's awesome. The kids
Yeah.
teach us a lot, and they help us do things that sometimes we might be too tired to do. That's happened with me with my son as
Yes.
well. So, you started teaching public speaking. When did you start teaching this?
That was a funny story. Yeah, it was 20. It was the summer of 2019. It's funny how things get burned into your brain when they have meaning to.
'Twas the summer of 2019.
Doesn't have the same thing as summer of '69 with Brian Adams, but we'll go with it. Um, and a friend of my sister's asked me if I would come out and teach her nieces and nephews and her kids public speaking for an hour.
Oh,
And so
wow.
I said, sure, why not? So
That's
out I went,
nice.
taught them for the hour,
Mhm.
and then the friend came back and said, I don't know how you did it, but they want more classes with you. And
Yay!
yeah,
That is
and I
awesome.
had been going to Toastmasters for 12 years,
Mhm.
and I had never thought about a career in public speaking or doing something with public speaking.
Mhm.
So once that happened, it became okay, well, let's do a class. So we did one class, and then we had just started to expand. And then, of course, the pandemic came and everything ground to a halt, but not for us because it transferred to online teaching. So I was suddenly teaching kids in China and Australia, all over the United States. And it really was a boom for us through that time frame. Now we're navigating the online, in-person classes. Oh, oh,
I had to cough, and I didn't want to cough in.
oh! I panicked. I thought of this.
I heard you. I heard you go. Oh,
Way to keep me on my toes. I love it.
oh, that is hilarious.
Oh my goodness.
Oh
So
my
much
God. So, it must have been a lot of fun to teach children all over the world. That
fun.
is awesome. How did you manage to do that? How did you get in contact with children all over the world,
It was
and
amazing.
just online you put a message out, or how do you do that?
Well, there was a person here near where I live, and
Mhm.
he had connections in China. That's really where it started for us.
Nice.
And so he said, "Would you be interested in teaching kids in China online?" And I said, "Oh, absolutely." And we did one class for his clients, or a set of classes, I should say.
Hmm.
And then he said, "Can you do more?" And so we suddenly had multiple days, and
Hmm.
um, they're exactly 12 hours ahead of us. So I would get up at like 7 in the morning, but it would be
Wow.
7 at night for them. So
Nice.
it worked out well. It worked out well. And then from there, I guess it was word of mouth. As other parents saw what was happening with their kids, they talked to other parents, and suddenly, I'm teaching in Australia. I'm teaching all across the United States. I can't. I'm having trouble thinking of all the different states that I've had kids come to me from, but
Hmm.
California and New York, Connecticut, like all over the place.
Wow.
uh,
I love
so
it.
it's been interesting. Yeah, yeah.
No, go ahead. You were going to say something, my friend.
No, I was just saying it was one of those things. It's like what you said a little bit earlier. It's like if you had told me back in 2015, or oh, Steve, you'll be in 10 years, you'll be teaching kids all over the world, I would have said, what are you smoking? I'm not. Not going to be me. I'm in retail. I'm living the life as a manager here. And wow, shows you how life can change in a hurry.
I think public speaking is so important, Steve. And I,
Yes.
I think starting early is genius, because public speaking, I think, is a step to take to being successful. Because if you don't have that communication, then it's hard for people to be able to relate. It's hard to get your message across, and it's hard for you to feel comfortable around other people, right?
Yeah.
So you know what and I think that starting early, like those parents that got their children to start early, um, man, I wish I would have known you when my son was in high school.
Mm,
But, the funny thing about him is that he's very good at public speaking. He's not afraid, like, he's not how I used to be super, super shy. He's a different person.
isn't that
Luc
interesting?
yeah. I see Luciano
Yeah.
Santini says, "Hello, Angelica, love all your guests. They are always great." You're great, Steve.
Oh,
Thank you,
wow. Thank you.
Luciano.
That's
Appreciate it,
wonderful. Yeah,
appreciate it.
I always like watching your chats, because I think you're such a gifted interviewer. You make people at ease, and you ask such great questions.
Aw,
I don't know if
thank
that's
you,
a
my friend.
natural ability or whether it's something you've worked at, but yeah, I really love watching your lives. I jump on whenever I can and the schedule allows.
Thank you, my friend.
You're welcome.
Well, same goes for you. Sharon has a question for you. She says, "Do you coach on posture and eye contact and table manners if there's a dining situation um, with the speaking? Maybe
That's a
a
yeah.
toast."
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Let's hear
Wow.
it, my friend. I need it on the posture.
Posture is important.
Mhm,
Body language is often overlooked, I find,
mhm,
from a lot of
mhm,
people.
mhm,
Um, I'm trying to decide how I answer this. Okay, we'll go with the answer, and then I'll give you a little bit of a personal story.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
so yes, you need to be mindful of your body language, and your eye contact is very important. Whether it's what you and I are doing right now, communicating
Mhm,
on video, in which case my eye contact is going to be to my camera. But if I'm working a room or if I'm in front of a room of people, I want to
mhm,
be making sure that I'm checking in with people, not like, this kind of stuff, but that from time to time I'm looking one way and, kind of working generally around the room and making sure everyone feels connected to me. So eye contact is important. And certainly your posture, not so much, maybe not so much the posture, but these two little guys that are
the
on the
hand.
ends of arms,
Mhm,
because a lot of people don't know what to do with their hands. And sometimes this is where our nervous energy comes out, is in our
mhm,
hands. So we may
mhm,
be doing this while we're talking and not even realizing we're doing this. And of course, people's eyes get drifted to my hands, and now they're not listening to me anymore because they're like, why is he doing that with his hands?
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
I've seen speakers put hands in pockets when they're standing
Yeah.
in front of a crowd. That's another no no. So in my classes, I'm teaching people to be mindful of this. So I will gently call out, oh, next time, try not to have your hands in your pockets, and use that as okay, if I catch myself doing it, I need to course correct, pull the hands out, not dramatically, but pull them out of the pockets if that happens.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes long sleeves can be a challenge because we can curl our hands up into our sleeves. And
Mhm,
again,
mhm,
that's going to show to the audience that we're not quite as confident as maybe we're projecting ourselves to be. So I do focus on gestures and hands because I find that can be a challenge for most people as to what to do with them and how do I do them. And then my natural tendency may not be the right message I'm sending to the audience.
mhm, mhm,
And a lot of what I coach and a lot of what I teach is really about being mindful of yourself when you're up on stage. I know there's so much going on. You're trying to remember your speech and you're trying to do all these things. But if you're not mindful of the basics,
mhm,
it can really undermine your message. And so the personal story I was going to share is at the start, I said, in retail, the field, people in the stores are often asked to do presentations. And so I was always told, oh, Steve, you're great. You're a really good public speaker. And I wanted to transition into a teaching and development role. And so I thought, oh, I'll go to Toastmasters because everyone I networked with said, go to Toastmasters. So I went to Toastmasters. I thought I was the cat's meow and, oh, they're going to be just wowed by my speech. you know um, and I was so blessed because my club video recorded the speeches, so I was all excited about getting my video recording of my very first speech at Toastmasters.
mhm.
And then I became mortified because for the entire 6-minute speech I was pacing pacing back and forth, and I didn't even know I was doing it. I didn't
Uh-huh.
even know I was doing it. And so I often will look at that speech. I show it to my students as a way to say, this is where I started. And with work, you can get better. You can get better. I don't do that anymore when I'm doing my speeches. Um, so the question is right on the nose. Yes, we need to be very mindful of our bodies, what they're doing. And
Mhm.
if we're catching ourselves, if we know that, oh, I like to do things with my hands, just be mindful when you go up. Be, have a plan as to what you're going to be doing with your hands so that you're not, fidgeting away while the audience is wondering, oh, why are they doing that?
Mhm, mhm.
Uh, Hopefully that answered the question.
Yes. Well, I'm wondering if Sharon might have a child that she's asking about the table manners, that maybe are you still giving classes for
Oh, yeah.
children?
Yeah, still teach classes for children. We're going to be starting up a an online class for teenagers a couple of weeks from now, actually, just around Halloween time, day before Halloween, actually.
Oh, wow,
Uh,
that's awesome. You gotta put all that information in the comments, my friend, because
okay, I will do that.
I am sure there are some families here that
Right.
would really be interested in it. Maybe Sharon, because she's asking if you teach about the table
Yeah.
manners and speaking at a dining situation.
Well, and the other thing that touches on is I take a very broad view of public speaking. It's not just doing presentations on a stage. It's also,
Mhm.
you and I are doing it right now. Obviously, there's people watching us, but even if people weren't watching us and you and I met at a cafe and we're
Yes.
just shooting the breeze, as it were, that's
Mhm.
still public speaking because I'm trying to share my ideas, my thoughts. You're trying to tell me things about you.
Mhm.
So we do practice. We call it off the top speaking, but we always have a section of our classes dedicated to practicing the art of impromptu speaking. So dining room table would be a perfect place. And, as a father of two boys, I've dealt with the how was your day? It was fine. Pass me the potatoes. Like it's you want them to talk a little bit more. So it's
That's
it's helping the child to understand. Oh, I need to elaborate a little bit here. I can't just give a one word or one sentence answer.
oh, yeah, and that's what they do, right? That's teenagers are known for giving one. I remember when my son, "How you doing?" "Okay," and that's it.
Yep.
But Sharon, she says, "I am thinking fundraising dinners," and that is
Uh,
awesome, Sharon, because a lot of us are in business here, right? And we
mhm.
have fundraisers. So,
Yes.
thank you for mentioning that. What'd you say about that, my friend?
Fundraising dinners. Well, if you're the person trying to raise the funds, and let's say you're the MC of an event,
Mhm.
um, MC can be a tricky role to fill because you got to keep the show moving,
Mhm.
but you also have to keep it light and entertaining as it goes, but not be the headliner, like not be the,
Yes.
oh my God, that was a great host. If I'm leaving an event and I'm going, what a great MC, um, likely that means your speakers were not as on point maybe as they should have been. The speaker
Yeah,
should
and
be the star of the show, so to speak.
yeah, and I think that's what, as a host, that's what we wanna do. We want to highlight, like, for example, you, my friend, you're the guest, so you're the one that's doing most of the talking here, not me. Let's see,
Oh, I gotta
Van Eyck says, "Greetings from Gabon." Greetings from California, and greetings from Canada.
Toronto, Toronto,
Okay.
Canada. Yeah, sorry, I was like, oh, she's.
You know what? It's because my hand was down here, and I needed to go like that. Ooh, my hand looks big if I put it up there. Let me put it back here.
Oh my goodness, it's so crazy. Know. I know. It's even earlier when I was doing the pacing thing, and I'm trying to figure out where's the hand go. Yeah,
Yes.
and that's the other thing is, I just did a post about this. Is that some people have a very negative opinion of online learning
Mhm,
or
mhm.
online classes, but there's a skill to communicating on video that's different than if I was in the room with you.
Yes.
And you've just highlighted a few, like, you know I caught a fish that was this big. It's like, Steve, we can't see your hands. We don't know how big that fish was, you know.
And then the
um,
fish gets little if you put it right there.
it was 10 times this size. Oh dear. But you know, I've seen people, and you can tell from their arms that their hands are moving,
Uh-huh.
but you're like, oh, I'd love to know what gesture they're making right now, or I wonder
Oh, yeah.
what they're doing. And this can also be distracting for somebody, because you're like,
Mhm.
what's he doing with his hands? I can see his thumbs, but I can't. And of course, as soon as the audience is fixated on that,
Mhm.
they've likely stopped listening to what you're saying.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
So communicating on video has value as online learning. Um, so I just throw that out there, because I do, you know, and I talk to parents. They'll sometimes be far away from where I am. You know,
Yes.
I live 2 hours away from where you are, Steve. Can you come and do classes for me? And I'm like, no, I can't, but we can do online. I'm online. But I try to tell them, no, there's value in the online space. And again,
I
like you
think
say, for kids and for future skills, you know, our kids are going to grow up in a digital age.
Oh, yes.
This,
They
this
are
is the
growing up.
norm. Yeah.
My niece is 9 years old, and
Mm.
she is a YouTuber, and
Oh, wow.
she just started putting up, some videos,
Mm.
and each video that she's put up already has 500 views. What am I doing wrong? That's all I could say.
God. Oh, no. I play a game with the kids, Two
Uh-huh.
Truths and a Lie. And one of the things I always mention is I have a YouTube channel.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
the kids always think I'm lying about that for some
mhm.
reason. So then when I reveal, no, it's true, I have a YouTube channel. And
Uh-huh.
how many subscribers do you have? And I say, oh, I have 57 subscribers.
I'm not even gonna say how many I have. And don't laugh at me after you see it.
Well, it was funny because in one of the classes, the kids said, that's all? I have almost 1,000. And he was like a 10-year-old.
Uh, we
Like,
gotta learn from
wow.
them.
Yeah,
We need to
absolutely.
find out. You know what? You give them the public speaking, they give you the YouTuber classes.
That's
You
a
could
good, I have to
barter it.
think about that. Yeah, barter and trade information. That's a good one. I'll have to think about that. Yeah, that's a
Oh,
good one.
okay. Back to speaking. Lisa says,
Yes.
"Hey, Angelica and Steve, great combo." Sean Michael says, "Hiya, Angelica and Steve. Hiya."
Hiya.
And thank you, Lisa, for that. And LinkedIn user says, "What are we not doing when it comes to public speaking that we need to do?"
Mm.
Maybe the LinkedIn user is talking about what are we not doing to get more subscribers. It could be either that, either that. I think it is. She goes, "You got more subscribers than me." Yeah, and he's
Mm.
got more subscribers than me. That's why I didn't want to say.
Oh
Oh my
dear,
goodness.
too funny.
It's
Um,
it's awesome though.
yeah, it is awesome. I mean, what you know, I guess if I was to call out some common things that I see in my travels and in my places, I would say, and I just talked about this with somebody the other day, is about, you know, PowerPoint is wonderful. It can
Mhm,
be a great tool to help enhance a
mhm,
presentation, but it can
mhm,
also be a minefield for what not to do in a presentation. So I still
mhm.
see slide decks that the print is so tiny because they've got so many bullets on there. And then they compound the problem by reading it word for word.
I've
And it's
done that
like,
before, and I'm
oh,
like,
we
no, I
all
don't.
have, I think.
It's
Yeah,
boring. Yeah, it's boring when
it's
you do
very boring
it.
because the audience can read faster than you can talk. Even the slowest reader in the room is going to get through that slide faster than I can talk it out. And once an audience knows, oh, all they're doing is reading the slides, they're going to zone out.
Yes.
They're going to zone right out. And so that's a killer right now. Like, my golden rule would be a slide would only have at most 3 bullets and just a few words as a way to keep the audience listening to you, because that's what a presentation should be.
Yes.
I jokingly say, if you're going to do a slide deck with lots of words and stuff, just go before and say, here's my presentation. You can read it and then have any questions for me. Because that's what you're basically doing. You're just reading something to the audience. So that's a common misstep that I see in a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but I see it often, that people are doing those types of things. And then the real challenge is being, sometimes we don't like, we want to be perfect. And we put this pressure on ourselves to be perfect. And so we pick stories that show us in these amazing lights about, how great we are. And we're missing an opportunity there, because we should be sharing the struggle to get to that place. When you share the struggle, that's when it ties it and makes it, like you said earlier, more relatable to an audience. Because if all I'm hearing about how wonderful Steve is and great Steve is, I'm likely sitting in the audience going, yeah, right, he's not telling us something. And we don't want that. That's going to break a connection. We want the audience to go, oh, Steve has the same struggles I have. I only have 59 subscribers. Steve has 57.
Oh my goodness.
We need that connection. And we don't get it without sharing a bit of our pain and a bit of our challenge. So that's another thing that I sometimes see, is people project this wonderful image, which is important. Don't get me wrong, but we need to also share the challenge that we had to face to get there.
The struggle is real.
Oh, the struggle is definitely real. And it helps make you relatable. It really helps you make you relatable, which is what it should be about.
Okay, awesome. So number 1, dump the PowerPoint with a bunch of words. Don't do that. And if you're going to do it, 3 bullets with just a few words. And
big, nice picture. Yeah.
Yes, I think
Yes.
it's probably nicer to have a picture and even just talk about the picture.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. I teach, it's all about, the PowerPoint is meant to be visual, a visual enhancement to your presentation, not the place where your script goes. Because then what compounds usually is the screens behind me. So now I have to do this, and I do my presentation, and you get the back of my head.
Exactly.
So we want to get rid of all that. We want to have you facing the audience and just talking to the few points that are on there. And maybe, to your point, there's no words on it. It's just a big picture or a few pictures. Because that's what PowerPoint's really meant to be, is a visual medium, not a wordy. One of my bosses I used to work for, I used to call them eye charts. As soon as he saw something go up with the words, he'd go, "Oh, we got an eye chart." And I thought, oh yeah, that is appropriate, because that is what it kind of looks like.
Oh, that's funny. That is funny, with all the words instead of letters. Michael has come into the room. Habarigani, Michael Jambo. That's we got a visitor who speaks Swahili. So
oh wow.
Thank you for joining us, my friend. I think he might be somewhere in Kenya. That's my guess. I forgot.
Wow.
But that's what cool. And Joannie Davis says, I don't know why I keep showing as LinkedIn user. So now we know the mystery. The LinkedIn user is Joannie Davis. I hope I'm saying your name. Oh, Joanne Davis. Joanne Davis.
Nice.
And oh, and Sharon's cracking up about the eye chart.
Yeah, it's a great line. I wish I'd thought about it, but it is a great line because
Yeah.
so true. That's what it looks
Mhm.
like if they've loaded. It's exactly what
Mhm.
it looks like. Um, so yeah, that's cool. And we just have to be. I'm coaching right now a woman that English is not her first language,
Mhm.
and she can talk like I can understand her very well. Her English is good, but
Mhm.
she doesn't have confidence. And she said to me, "Oh, but I don't know a lot of big words." And I said, "Well, you know what? Public speaking shouldn't be big words.
Mhm.
Public speaking should feel like I'm just talking to one person in the audience.
Mhm.
It shouldn't feel like a lecture, like
Yes.
I'm going to pontificate.
Yes.
I'm going to, I mean, some of the things I've heard from some speakers, and it's like, oh, you've disconnected people
Uh-huh.
because now they don't
Yes.
know what you're trying to say because you're using all these big flowery big words when in
Uh-huh.
reality you could have said the message in a much simpler way that would have been more effective.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
To
So
those
keep
out
it
there in the audience that are, yeah, oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I just said keep it simple.
Keep it simple. And to
Mhm.
those in the audience that are saying, well, I don't know a lot of big words or um, formal language, that's great. That's actually better, I think, than if you did know all that
Mhm.
because you want it to, the ideal tone we're looking for is conversational tone. That's the ideal tone we're trying to strike here. And writing a speech is different from writing an essay
Mhm.
because we should be writing it for the voice, not for the reading, if that makes any sense.
Okay. It makes sense.
Okay, that's good. Well,
Sorry,
I
I was
yeah, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if I'm reading my speech script and it has lots of long sentences,
Oh.
I would go back and change it
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
you can get away with a long sentence in an essay because if the person's confused by what you've written, they can just go back and reread it.
Mhm.
But a speaker, if the audience gets confused by what you've said, they're not going to say, "Oh, time out, Steve. Can you go back and say that sentence again? I didn't quite." It's gone.
Mhm.
So you got to
Mhm.
keep it short. Keep it short.
I think so too. Um, let's see. Michael is in Texas. I'm over here thinking he's in Kenya, and no, I sit corrected. He's in Dallas, Texas, but he's a Swahili speaker, so that's pretty
Oh,
cool.
interesting. That is cool. It's very cool.
And Sharon says, to become an expert at the I had to become an expert at the eye chart. I think that's what it says there. Um,
Mm,
and also somebody said not a teleprompter.
that's a good one too. Yes, I've heard it called that.
Yes.
Teleprompters, for those that may not know, are what the news readers get. That's how they're
Uh-huh.
able to stand there with no pages in hand because they're looking at the script as it's coming up for them and them alone.
Uh-huh.
But in PowerPoint, of course, the teleprompter is seen by everybody, and that's not good.
Yeah.
That
It
is not
doesn't
good.
sound
Yeah,
authentic when you have a teleprompter there, right? And I think that's
no,
one of the things that you want when you're giving a speech. You need to sound authentic and like you're really interested in your audience. You should be interested in your audience, right? And I bet
yeah,
you got to be looking at your audience to see um, if they're really paying attention, if there's something, or if there's somebody speaking in the audience. What do you do if two people are talking out loud to each other and you're giving a speech?
oh, that's an interesting one. That is an interesting one. Um, I can go a few ways with that because I'm trying to really challenge my mindset because
Mhm.
sometimes even somebody doing this while you're speaking,
Mm, yeah.
some of our natural tendency is to say,
Mhm.
oh, he's zoned out, he's not paying attention anymore. Maybe he's heard something in your speech and he's immediately going to put a note into his phone, or
Yes.
he's texting his friend to say, oh my god, we got to talk, this woman's talking about wonderful things, or this
Uh-huh.
dude is really knowledgeable, so don't always assume that, oh, that means bad. I think that would be
Yes.
my first thing. That being said, chatter during a speech can be a killer.
Yes.
Um, I think in a speech, you're kind of in a tough position because you got to just keep going.
Mhm.
Stopping and drawing attention to the person or people is not a good look.
Mhm.
And generally, the people around those people that are talking are generally going to help you to squash that, hopefully.
Uh-huh.
Um, in a training session, that's different.
Yes.
If I'm doing a class, like it happens often, especially with youth, doing a
Mhm.
youth
Mhm.
class, and two of them are starting to chit chat, I'll just, oh, can we just stop for a second, Charlie? What do you want to share with the class?
Mhm.
Or so and so, what has got your interest that you'd like to talk about?
Mhm.
Sometimes they're going to say, oh, nothing. Sometimes they surprise me and they say, oh, teacher, I want to talk more about this, or do you mean that when you're saying this? And then they're like, oh wow, they were
Mhm.
actually listening to what I was saying.
That's a compliment when they're listening,
Oh,
right?
big time, big time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what you said about the um, eye contact is important to keep connection with the audience, but it's also, as you've just said, it's a great way for us to also check in with the audience.
Mhm.
And if I see lots of, okay, I got to do something here because
Mhm.
they're drifting away, they're yawning,
Mhm.
they're not
Mhm.
showing interest. So as a
Mhm.
speaker, if I'm really skilled, I'm going to change up my speech at that point.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm going to cut it short, as much as that might pay me because I love my speech. Maybe I'm going to have to do something else to get their attention. But I got to do something if I see them drifting away. And if you see the opposite, I remember one particular speech I was doing, and it was about, we had to do a presentation about famous speeches in history.
Yes.
And so I was assigned the speech that Ronald Reagan gave the nation when the Challenger blew up.
Oh, wow.
And so I was setting the context for that speech because some in the audience were younger and wouldn't have the historical context.
Oh, yes.
So I was doing that. And as I was doing the context, and then as I started into President Reagan's beautiful words, I saw the audience lean in. And
Like
I was like,
they wanted to know more.
yes. And I was
Wow.
like, oh my God. It's so vivid in my mind. It hasn't happened to me often, but that was a magical time because I was like, wow, this audience is really into this speech right now.
Ah.
So that's a great sign. If you see people leaning in,
Mhm.
you're doing something right. So that's a great sign, and you should be looking for those types of signs because it can help. If I'm up there and I'm already nervous and
Mhm.
I don't know about this, and I can see some people in the audience like leaning forward or nodding while I'm talking,
Uh-huh.
that gives me some wind in the sails to continue the talk because, oh, I'm
Mhm.
catching some people's interest here. So
Absolutely.
that's a brilliant point you mentioned.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for bringing that up too.
Yeah.
And the story about the speech, Ronald Reagan's speech. Now I'm going to have to go and look it up and
Mm-hmm.
check it out. He was a
It's very
wonderful
powerful.
speaker.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. So many good speeches from him. Yeah. And that was one that I hadn't really, because I would have been hmm, probably around like 13 or so.
Hmm.
So I remember the event because I remember watching it in school and We were all just aghast by this.
Mhm.
But I didn't remember his speech later that night. And it's a great speech
Amazing.
because he was
Amazing.
treading the line of honoring them, but also
Yeah.
making it clear the space race wasn't like they weren't abandoning space because of
Mm.
this tragedy. This was going to
Mhm.
steel the resolve to continue the, the march towards the space and the shuttles and all that stuff. So it was a very, very powerful speech.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
Well, I'd love to hear if you were to give 3 tips on making a speech
oh boy.
stand out. 3 3 tips to speak up and stand out. What
Ah,
would
there
you
you go. Nice. I love it. Well, you've just given me one, believe it or not, with what you just asked. And that's the power of three.
Okay.
You look all through our pop culture, all through history.
Mhm.
Three is a powerful number. So we can apply it to public speaking. Uh, 3 points, not 5 points, not 10 points, 3 points, three takeaways.
Mhm.
Much easier for an audience to digest than here's my top 10 tips for public speaking. No, here's my 3 tips for public speaking. It's easier for an audience to digest that. And you look around, you look at the Three Little Pigs, Goldilocks and the Three Bears, how many ghosts visit Scrooge on Christmas night? Three. It's threes, it's threes, it's threes.
Hmm,
So, power of
interesting.
three is really important. So, I don't know if you intended that. I'm going to say you intended it. But there's my first tip
Okay.
threes. If somebody asks you a question, um, hey, Steve, what's your favorite movie? Well, after you tell them what your favorite movie is, give them 3 reasons why it's your favorite movie.
Okay.
You are suddenly, they're not going to, on a conscious level, they're not going to recognize it, but they're going to come away going, wow, I learned so much about Steve and he was so easy to talk to.
Uh-huh.
Because when I give 3 points, that allows you maybe to ask me another question or to share a common interest we have. And suddenly it's just flowing so well. So, power of three is first tip.
Mhm.
Second tip is be authentic. Don't be something you're not.
Mhm.
Anthony Robbins is Anthony Robbins, and Oprah Winfrey is Oprah Winfrey, and President Reagan was President Reagan. We're all communicators in our own way.
Mhm.
So be true to yourself and be authentic.
Yes.
And the goal is to be clear, but I tell my students, I'm not about perfection.
Yes.
I'm not about everything coming out flawlessly. There
Mhm.
might be a few ums in there.
Mhm.
There might be a few so's in there. It's okay. I'd rather that than a speaker who's like perfect because perfect, something's off here. I may not connect again. It's going to break the connection. So
Mhm.
authenticity is my second tip.
Mhm.
And my third tip would be, and I'm still trying to break this one down to make it because I think people come to it with different preconceived notions and things. But my third tip would be um, tell a good story. Tell a good story is my third tip. Become a good storyteller so that you can use stories to illustrate your point.
Okay.
If I get up on stage and I do a speech about pursuing your passion, and all I talk about are studies and experts and books and whatever, okay, yeah, people are going to be mildly interested in that. But once I can tell them a story of me pursuing passion or somebody in my life pursuing passion, now I'm going to gain traction because
Yes.
the audience is going to be taking that away as, oh, yeah, I remember Steve telling us about this. And they're going to remember the story long after the study is forgotten. That's what I found interesting in your talk last night about the TED Talks and how I forget the gentleman's first name. Iyer, Dr. Iyer.
Robbie Iyer.
Yes.
Hmm.
I loved how he mentioned that the TED Talk was a blend. It wasn't just data. It was also, there was some story going on in there. And I think it's so true.
Hmm.
So no matter what the topic is, try to find a story and be a good storyteller.
Awesome. So we got to practice our storytelling skills.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not that, it's not that tricky really, but there are some things that you can do to make it,
Hmm.
come more effortlessly out. We're all
You,
storytellers to some degree. Yeah.
you want to tell us one thing we could do to make it come out?
Well, the one thing I think the one thing I would say is try not to overcomplicate it,
Okay.
and that can be just in um, oh, me, Angelica, James, Derek, and Sharon all went to we all went to Canada's Wonderland, an amusement park here, and I want to tell you now the story about Sharon and I.
Hmm.
Well, why did you mention all the other friends?
Oh.
So just talk about you and Sharon
Hmm.
going to Wonderland. We don't need to know that there were other people there if they don't have a place in the story.
Hmm.
We want to streamline it because we don't want an audience sitting there going, he mentioned Angelica, but I don't think, wait, was that Angelica? Was that?
Hmm. Hmm.
You're taking them out of the story by bringing things in that didn't need to be there. So we want to streamline things as much as possible. And always name your characters. That would be another bonus tip. There's a bonus tip.
I love it.
Name your character. Because if I say, oh, a friend and I went to Wonderland, or I say Sharon and I went to Wonderland, it
Hmm.
takes on more gravity when I mention a name of a person. Now,
Absolutely.
if Sharon doesn't do nice things at Wonderland and it's not a nice thing that Sharon is responsible for in the story, then I change Sharon's name to somebody else, but I name the person,
Okay.
or I give them a character trait.
Oh, okay.
I give them a character trait. If you want to see a good example of that, I would mention Aaron Beverly. I can put this in the comments after. He's
Okay.
a world champion speaker, and he's got a few speeches where he talks about the bus lady of doom. He talks about the
Oh,
ominous.
I know a
Ominous.
bus lady of doom, man. I could tell a story about that. I'm gonna write a story about that now.
There you go. Nice.
You've inspired me, Steve. You've inspired me.
I love it. I love it.
Well,
So
you
yeah,
know,
there's a couple of story tips.
it was. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah.
We're close to the end. Actually, we're at the end, and I'm
Yeah.
just having too much fun. We're
I
not.
know.
We did a little bit over, but that's okay. This is perfect, right? We don't have the stopwatch on us. The red stop sign in Toastmasters.
Yes. Oh, you know that, do you?
I used to go to Toastmasters, but I should do that again. I really I started an improv class, and I'm gonna tell you,
Right.
I love the improv class.
Oh, improv
It's
would be amazing.
it's so much fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really had a great conversation with you, and I hope that we could do this again, Steve.
Yes, I would love to have another chat at this because we've only scratched the surface, of course.
Yes,
You make the conversation so easy. I'm shocked that it's time is up. Like it's amazing.
I
So
think
thank
it goes both ways, my friend. You're very easy to speak with,
you.
easily
Oh,
to converse
yeah,
with here. So
yeah.
so I want people to know
Excellent.
where they can reach you, and also if you have any books or any classes that you're giving, you could mention them and also add them in the comments.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so you can find me at E3 Public Speaking or E3 Toronto. Either way will work for my website.
Hmm.
Um, And that's where you'll find information about my classes. I haven't written a book yet, but maybe I will one day. We'll see.
Okay.
Classes that I actually have 2 classes that I'm hopefully going to get going here shortly. One is going to be for adults on Wednesday evenings, online class,
Okay.
7 p.m. Eastern time for those in the Eastern time zone of the
That's
world.
that's great.
Um, and October 30th, we're starting up a class for teens, online class for teens. So I'll make sure to put the links
Yay.
in for those. Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's really
You
fun.
know, I love that you have these classes online because people are so busy and they go to work in the morning and they come home and they do not want to go out and to another place. They're like, let me do it from home, let me learn from home and
Mhm.
practice. So it's genius that you're doing this, my friend. And
Thank you.
you're welcome, you're welcome. So I want to say thanks to everybody who's here tonight. And Sharon gave a lot of comments tonight. Thanks, Sharon. And everybody else who came through and to give their comments.
Oh,
Really
thank you.
appreciate all of you that came tonight. We love you and hope to see you again for our next one. And
Excellent.
and
Thank you.
thank you, Steve. You
Thank
did
you.
an,
And my
an
goodness, was
amazing
beautiful.
job. What's
Thank you
that?
for having. I said this was just beautiful, and thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too, my friend. So everybody have a wonderful evening and we love you. Bye.
Bye. Oh, bye.
Oh, my hand's not